Welcome to Taiwan Report News Brief, news analysis and context from drought-stricken Taichung. I'm Donovan Smith. Taiwan is ever so slowly trying to tackle the problem of Chinese influence and disruption tactics, but with terribly uneven results. On the plus side, as described in Focus Taiwan, the Cabinet approved a draft amendment Thursday to the Criminal Code of the Armed Forces that introduces punishments for serving members of the armed forces who divulge confidential information to a newly defined category of people. Under the draft amendment, the newly defined category includes foreign governments and nationals, citizens of mainland China, residents of Hong Kong and Macau, and or any middlemen sent on their behalf. The new category is intended to complement existing law, which identifies the country's enemies as any country or organization that engages in or whose forces confront the Republic of China. Under current law, leaking confidential information is punishable with a jail term of 3 to 10 years in peacetime and 7 years to life during war. The new draft amendment stipulates that anyone who discloses or delivers materials of a secret nature relating to the defense of the Republic of China, Taiwan, to anyone in the new category faces 5 to 12 years in prison during peacetime and 10 years to life if the nation is at war. However, individuals who disclose more confidential information may have the punishment increased to a maximum of 18 years. So, in short, they added 2 to 3 years to the jail time and expanded and clarified the language. It's not much, but it's a start. Then, the Ministry of Labor recently sent an official notice to several online job banks, indicating it is stepping up the enforcement of laws that prohibit them from helping Chinese employers recruit employees in Taiwan by placing job ads on their platform. That's right. They gave them a heads up they will finally be actually implementing the laws on the books against unapproved recruitment of Taiwanese talent by Chinese companies. How nice of them. China has been aggressively trying to lure away Taiwan's best and brightest in many fields, especially semiconductors, in order to hollow out Taiwan's lead in many fields. This move will slow down their efforts at getting general talent, such as new university graduates, but it seems unlikely it will do much to stop specific targeted poaching of key figures. These people can be targeted individually through many channels, including such high-tech and devious methods like sending an email or making a phone call. It's not likely the senders of those emails are going to be prosecuted in Taiwan as long as they stay out of the country. Often, the problem with efforts to battle Chinese influence is not just the laws, but the enforcement of them, as a couple of examples illustrate. The High Court has recently upheld a guilty ruling against 2 former presidential guards who were charged with espionage and ordered them to serve out their prison terms. The 2 were found guilty of breaching the National Security Act, spying for China, and trying to obtain the closely guarded itinerary of President Tsai Ing-wen, as well as U.S. and Japanese politicians who visited and met with Tsai in 2018. The older of the 2 was recruited from the military ranks to work at the presidential office's Department of Security Affairs and had served as a personal guard for former presidents Jiang Jingguo and Li Danghui. After he retired, he took a job in China and, surprise, surprise, was recruited there by Chinese agents. He took up their offer and recruited a younger officer still on the job and passed on the information to China. Now, this is clearly serious, and in spite of their commitments to protect the president's life, this could have put the president's life in danger. So clearly, the punishment should be severe. Nope. The older guy got a 3-year and 4-month sentence, and the active duty personal guard a 22-month sentence. That's it. Now, this brings us to the second case. The Taipei District Court has just acquitted New Party spokesman Wang Bingzhong, 2 fellow New Party members, and a Chinese student, Zhou Hongxu, on all charges in an espionage case. The judges said there was insufficient evidence to show that Wang's father, who was charged as an accessory, Zhou, New Party Taipei City Councilor Ho Hanting and New Party executive Lin Minzhang were developing a spy network for China, and their activities did not pose a danger to national security or social stability. Prosecutors had accused the group of receiving funding from office units controlled by the People's Liberation Army, money that prosecutors said Wang and his associates used to set up propaganda websites. They also alleged they sought to infiltrate political and military circles and recruit people to spy for China. The prosecutors noted that documents showed that Wang Bingzhong had written, quote, I will, quote, work under the guidance and assistance of the Chinese Communist Party to unite and integrate the forces working to achieve unification across the Taiwan Strait. Wang said, speaking to reporters after the ruling, quote, we were adamant from the start that we advocate Taiwan's unification with China. And he added, how is that breaking the law? Well, he is telling the truth here. That is the new party's political line. The judges ruled that, quote, although Wang Bingzhong, Zhou, and the other defendants set up operations, evidence is lacking that they worked on behalf of China to develop the networks. That's tricky. They seem to be drawing a distinction between openly working on behalf of China and being directly ordered to work on behalf of China, a theme they seem to be reinforcing by adding, quote, the interactions were normal activities between friends and did not pose danger to national security or social stability. During the trial, Wang Bingzhong told the court that the funding was, quote, legitimate income from legal business earnings in China. Now, this is indeed a problem, as the line between business and state in the People's Republic is blurry, and so this can be very hard to prove. Wang also said, quote, it was us who recruited Zhou, not Zhou who recruited us. Now, that is a mind-blowing statement, as Zhou was convicted of spying for China in a separate case in 2017, with his 14-month sentence upheld by the High Court and the Supreme Court. So, Wang is claiming that they intentionally recruited a convicted Chinese spy to work for the new party. Here's the thing. I actually believe he may be telling the truth. The new party is really that far off the deep end politically. They actually probably thought Zhou was cool in their eyes. Now, in spite of how clearly suspicious these things look, the court may indeed have had good reasons for making the judgment they did based on the law and burden of proof. Not being a legal professional in Taiwan law, nor having examined all the evidence, I can't comment on that. Plus, freedom of speech is precious, especially in a country that was without it for so long and had to fight hard to get it. And after all, during the Cold War, there were people in the West calling for their countries to join the Soviet bloc, and others running around waving Mao's little red book. But this case raises some seriously troubling questions. Why was Zhou, a convicted Chinese spy, only given a 14-month sentence? Though he was pretty low level, that's still a pretty serious offense considering that the PRC has openly stated it fully intends to annex Taiwan by force if necessary. Another question, how did he get in the country in the first place? Having students from China isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it raises the question of whether or not the background checks on these students is sufficient. Finally, and this is the part that really blows my mind, is why the hell was a convicted foreign spy allowed to remain in Taiwan after serving his sentence? Clearly, Taiwan needs to examine its laws, its background checking, its sentencing rules, and at times common sense. These need to be revised and geared toward averting as much Chinese intrusion as possible. It will need to examine and take into consideration that money coming from China, even via businesses, can in fact be coming from or at the behest of the authorities in Beijing. This issue crops up often, and it can be tricky and hard to follow. For example, the deeply pro-China Want China Times group has been reported in the Financial Times to have taken instructions directly from China's Taiwan Affairs Office on content decisions. The tricky part here is they claim to not be receiving money from China. However, they no doubt get some money from pro-China businesses with operations in China in the form of advertisements. But most importantly, their parent company, the Want snack and instant noodle empire, has huge business interests in China. They get plenty of subsidies to their businesses in China, which, of course, they claim are all normal and legit. Even if they're telling the truth there, it is still in their interest to appease China in order to continue to get those subsidies and to continue to operate unimpeded in China. A similar situation may be playing out with their advertisers. So, the money may not be direct, and there is a very high chance that it is playing a part indirectly. Taiwan's laws need to take this sort of thing into account. Using this one example, they might consider banning companies with business in China from owning any part of local media platforms or companies that produce political websites or social media pages. This wouldn't work with advertising. There are simply too many companies with business in China for that to be feasible. But it would mean that the owners would not be directly beholden to Beijing. This is just one example of a whole range of ways that Taiwan's system is being abused by Chinese influence. Taiwan needs a top-to-bottom review of its laws with an eye on combating malign Chinese influence without harming the free speech rights of Taiwanese. And the sooner, the better. All right, that's it for today's show. If you can, beg your friends for money so you can contribute to us as a patron on patreon.com/Taiwan Report. Any support you can give us there is very, very much appreciated, and it helps keep Taiwan Report going. And be sure to hit like and subscribe and all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit that little bell to get the notifications. All right, until next time, I'm Donovan Smith.
This has been brought to you by the Taiwan Report. For more content like this, become our patron at report.tw.
哎呦，就是那个台湾狗啦，最喜欢我的台湾狗了。